Marketing for Qolsys. Been with us since we launched the company in 2013 at ISC West, and boy, things have been changing so much, and the whole world seems to be going right our direction from a security and smart home industry standpoint. Seems like every time I turn around, there's some news about some new smart home technology, some news about some connected homes and things like that. And it just seems like all of us on the call today are in exactly the right industry, and it's really exciting to see customers getting so excited about the products that we make and we sell and we offer them. And I hope you guys all feel the same way. I'd also like to do a special thanks to our guest, Tom Yesowich, the CEO of Vitex Systems. Tom is a 41-year industry veteran, and he's the CEO of Vitex. He's worked with a number of builders like WCI, Pulte, Taylor Morrison, Lennar, Minto, Standard Pacific, a lot of regional and local production builders, semi-custom homes, custom homes. He is really graciously let us agreed to let us peek behind the curtain on the way he does business, and in an effort to help you learn some of his best practices. He's also going to share a little bit of what he's working on for the future, some of the ideas he's got, and you can kind of get an idea of some of the directions that the industry is going to be headed. So, Tom, welcome to the webinar, and thanks for being on today.
Hey, thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, I'm down here in Florida. I think we're on opposite sides of the country, so it's kind of cool that we can have this kind of a conversation and share some ideas. But thanks for having me.
Indeed. Yeah, we're glad you're on today. Thanks, Tom. How is Florida right now? Pretty nice down there. We've got a kind of a cloudy day in Utah. So.
Yeah, actually, I'm in Southwest Florida, Naples. Today it's pretty cloudy, but normally it's really sunny. I think it's kind of chilly here. It's 85, but we're enjoying it.
You've got to break out the winter coat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, our second guest is Caitlyn Kiely from Alarm.com. Caitlyn is an account development executive responsible for pioneering, developing, and managing the builder program, right? And she's connecting the Alarm.com dealers and builders together to kind of simplify the process of implementing the Alarm.com home systems in the residential and new construction properties. She's actually, for the past 5 years, she's been active in technology sales and really been focusing on increasing demand in a number of new verticals. You graduated from the Department of Communications at the University of Maryland, right? You had like a BA in Public Relations.
I guess I don't.
We got some bad feedback. Tom, is that your phone? Or is that Caitlyn, maybe? I think it might be Caitlyn's phone. Caitlyn, I think we're having some trouble with the audio there. Would you mind maybe logging out and then logging back in, or see if maybe that, or dialing back in, maybe from your phone? I don't know if you're dialing in from your computer there, but we're having a hard time hearing you. Tom, I assume could you hear that as well? Was that kind of garbled to you?
Yeah, there was a lot of background noise.
Okay. Yeah, I'm assuming that Caitlyn's having a little audio problem there. So Caitlyn, we can't hear you, but if you can call, maybe hang up the phone and then dial back in with that phone number, that would probably help. Hopefully Caitlyn can get in here and we can get started. Let's, I guess to start out, our goal here today is to talk about the, how to build smarter homes. Caitlyn, is that you? Are you back in? Not yet. Okay. Our goal here is to kind of talk about how to build smarter homes, to try and, talk about the technology that's available, but also the opportunity. Before we start diving into it, I'd like to do a quick little poll and find out what are you? Are you a builder? Are you a security or automation dealer? Or would you consider yourself other? Maybe you're like a media representative or a manufacturer of hardware of some sort, or just a guest coming on from something else. So just kind of be interested to know what percentage of people represent each of these things, because obviously part of our goal is to help educate builders on what they should be looking for from a security and automation dealer, and help educate security and automation dealers on how to partner with builders better. And then of course there's others of us in the industry, like myself, who are on the manufacturing side, who are going to be providing materials for both of those groups to be able to be successful in their endeavors. Or Caitlyn, in her example, providing some of the technology and interactive services in that regard. So, yeah. Caitlyn, are you back in?
I am. Can you hear me okay this time?
Yes, much better, much better.
All right, sorry about that.
Yeah, so welcome. So, Caitlyn, you're in the D.C. area, right?
I am actually in McLean, Virginia, at our headquarters. So, hello from Virginia.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it looks like we've got about 21% are builders and 60% automation dealers, and then 19% say that they're others. So that's a really good mix, I'm going to go ahead and close that poll now. Thanks for voting, everyone. And wow, we've got a lot of people on today. This is definitely the largest webinar we've ever hosted. So thanks again, everyone, for joining today. Well, let's start out, Caitlyn. We were talking before this started about some of the really interesting statistics that you guys have found through a variety of U.S. Census, some research has been done, things like that, about the demand in the industry. Do you want to kind of share what you were telling us?
Yeah, absolutely. So over the past year or two, we've been hearing a ton of buzz from the field, from both builders and dealers alike, about how they can kind of all implement this connected home technology as it is becoming a standard. So one of the reasons why Alarm.com actually created a builder program is because 92% of builders agree with this statement. And Jeremy, if you could, just the next slide here.
Mm-hmm.
So innovative technology options and amenities can provide their new homes a competitive edge versus existing homes. So really the idea of kind of having these properties be turnkey with these connected home systems. And with that, we've seen that already 27% of builders include home automation packages as a standard in homes. However, we do see that about 86% of builders intend to make them a standard in the next 2 years. So with that.
Wow. So you're saying 92% are saying innovative technology is going to give me an edge, yet only 27% are actually including it. So almost all of them say they want it, but only less than 30% are actually doing it, and yet 86% intend to make them a standard in the next 2 years. That's a huge opportunity. I mean, especially if you think about the 60% of people on this call today that claim that they're security and automation dealers. That's a great opportunity for them, and that the 20% that are builders on this call today who are saying, hey, I want to be able to implement this kind of stuff. That's great.
Oh yeah.
It's a great opportunity.
Yep. And one of the things that we've also found as we've kind of been going out and speaking with home builders is that most builders have heard of the idea of kind of implementing security in new construction, but a lot of them aren't aware that a lot of these security systems also come fully loaded as home automation and energy management solutions as well, which can really kind of help simplify the process of implementing these types of systems. But really what we've seen...
Well, yeah, they make that. They make like these bands that look at next and like supposedly structured. Like a lot of people like it's more like
I'm not getting that very well. You hear it? That seems kind of garbled. Did you get that, Caitlyn?
No, I heard a little bit of feedback on my end.
Yeah. Tom, could you say that again? Okay, not a big deal.
That wasn't me, guys.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay. I don't know what's going on. There's some background noise. Okay. Not a problem. Keep going, Caitlyn. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so really what we're finding is that the smart home is the new standard, and builders' demand is kind of being driven by the consumers now, and the stats almost match precisely to the builder stats. So 28% already have some sort of smart home product, and 4 out of 5 people would be more likely to buy a home if smart home technology was already installed. So a tremendous opportunity here.
It's really exciting.
Well, I mean,
really exciting.
Like when we do La Villa, I have to run that again at the East Cater place. Well, it's not for you. It's not for you, Colin.
Hey, Ken Arnold, are you on mute?
10 people.
Ken Arnold, will you put yourself on mute? I think Ken Arnold.
My bad.
That's okay. I was wondering where the noise was coming from. I think you guys, when you logged in, I was trying to look and see if I could put you on mute myself, but apparently somehow you got on mute. So I apologize for that, guys. All right. Sorry about that. So, and this is really interesting because if you think about the way smart home technology is really booming, it's not just in, this kind of, you think about the, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with this term, the Internet of Things, but, for those of you on the call, if you look at really what's been buzzing out in the media a lot with Google and Apple and, everything that was attached to CES, and, Internet of Things is this concept that everything's going to be connected, right? And really, when you talk about connection, it's about a device or something being connected to the Internet, which then allows it to be connected to you wherever you are. And real true connectivity is when it's not just connected to you or to an app, but when it's connected to each other. And that's something that we've really tried to embrace here at Qolsys, and alarm.com feel the same way. And you probably noticed that there are connected devices everywhere. I mean, Tom, as we've been prepping for this, this webinar, you mentioned a long list of items that you offer as services to your customers, cameras and all sorts of things. What are the things these new home buyers are asking for these days? What kind of devices are they wanting? What kind of services are they wanting inside their home to make their home a smart home or a connected home?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think to answer it, we got to talk a little bit about what they're expecting to be standard in their home that maybe aren't the bells and whistles. Today our TVs need to be hardwired into our network so that we can get all that great 4K and everything that's available. And if you're building a new home, you want that kind of stuff built in. Certainly, security sensors has been driving the market for a lot of years. But thanks to the Nest thermostat, and thanks to cameras, and thanks to locks, and all the other things that are available out there, people are starting to ask for a lot of different devices. I think I lost you. Are you there, Jeremy?
Yeah, are you there? Yep. Yeah. So I think. Yeah. Sorry, I think I was on mute. You were mentioning you were doing everything from internet music to doorbells, cameras, LED lighting, motorized shades. I mean, people are really looking for connected homes more and more and more, and that connected experience, doesn't just start. And I guess if I ask a further question, is it a particular age group that's wanting this, or does it seem to be all new home buyers?
Well, that's a good question. I think down in our market of Florida, we definitely have a lot of seasonal buyers buying new homes. But as the construction industry comes back from the slump that we just went through, we're also seeing a lot of new home buyers. So it's at both spectrums. But I got to say, probably if you had to pick one thing that was driving the market that was not a security-related product, I would have to say that some form of internet music is something that everybody's buying. Once they have a network in their home and once they have the backbone, the first thing they want really is to still play music in different rooms.
Yep. Well, I know at my house, we've got a full security and smart home setup, of course, but I also have an Apple TV on each TV, and when we want to listen to music, I actually turn the TVs all on, and because they each have their own surround sound systems, I didn't need to install speakers in each of my rooms because I had, I've got a TV upstairs, I've got a TV in the master bedroom, and I've got a TV downstairs. All I have to do is turn on each of those TVs, turn on the Apple TV, and then I, through my phone, can then push that music out simultaneously to all of the rooms. And now I've got all home audio without having to worry about having to pre-wire all that in. And a lot of people like to have that pre-wired and do all that, but for me, that was an easy way to get that music in. And sometimes, whether it's watching a movie or music or things like that, it's kind of nice to be able to have that experience there. And that really was I almost want to say it was my gateway drug for connected stuff, because then it started thinking, okay, what else can I control from every room? What else can I do? And, you know, more and more devices seem to be cropping up. And, you know, we've actually coined a term that we call, here at Qolsys, that we call the Internet of Home. It's kind of that play on the Internet of Things. We, you know, we believe that Internet of Home, where, you know, your internet connecting to your home, and all these devices connected to it, is made up of three things. It's made up of the panel, the IQ panel. It's made up of a network of connected devices, like a whole ecosystem of connected devices. And then it's made up of your interactive service, your back-end service that allows you to connect all those things together and access it remotely. And no one of these things really can stand alone. Sure, you could put a system in to a home and put a panel in and put some connected devices and make it local only, but the real magic is from the devices, right? So, you know, when someone walks out of the house and leaves the house, the ability to actually use those devices or access those devices from a remote location is what turns that from simply being something that's, you know, a lamp switch on or off or a remote control in your hand to being something that's a full automated system. And by the same token, if you take the devices out of the equation, just having a panel with access to an app isn't going to do much. And what's a panel good for if there's no sensors to talk to it, if there's no Z-Wave devices to talk to it, if there's no Wi-Fi devices to talk to it? And if you've got all these great devices, but you don't have a panel to kind of be the brain of the home to kind of master all of it, and kind of be the one to rule it all, then there's nothing connecting each other. I think you guys have all seen, everyone on the call today has seen that there seems to be an app for everything these days. You know, if you buy the right washer and dryer, you can get an app that allows you to tell you what, you know, cycle it's on, or, you know, start it earlier, you know, back it up a little bit if you want. There's apps for your cars now. There's apps for, you know, anything. I mean, you can almost think of almost any device. There are some kind of device out there in the market. Maybe it's not, you know, completely common, but there's apps for them out there. The real tricky part is if you just have 20 or 30 different apps on your phone, you know, nothing's connected to each other. Nothing's talking to each other. So we believe that this whole Internet of Home concept means that it's all talking to each other, that a thermostat talks to the panel and can talk to the door sensors. The, you know, lock can talk to the panel, and then that can talk to the cameras, you know, things like that. And working, all of those things working together makes a really, really effective, you know, process. Now, Tom, you said that home buyers are more likely to purchase a home with smart technology installed. Is that right?
Yeah, we find out in our market that because we have been pushing this type of thing for so long to the builders that the builders that we don't do business with, and it's becoming less and less every day, are finding that it's more and more difficult to sell homes against the builders that we're working with, because our builders are putting in a core foundation of home automation in every home, and then because we have this great marketing catalog that we put out showing the homeowners the additional items that they can add, you know, what's happening is that the homeowners are adding these products as well. And if a builder's building a spec home or a model, a few years ago, they would basically put nothing in them. They would try to dummy them down, get them as cheap as possible, and sell them for price. But what we've seen in the last 2 years is we've seen an absolute change to where the spec homes and the models are now being loaded up, so to speak, with the things that we offer, because it is helping sell the homes.
Interesting. Kind of like the car industry when they always show off the fully loaded model, and then if you want to decrease from there, I would imagine that this is, you know, can be a very challenging prospect. You've got different builders who may or may not even understand all the different things that can be done out there. Your role in many ways is kind of to help guide them through what's appropriate for their home and what's appropriate for their model. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. And what we did over the years is we've developed a system to keep all of our salespeople and the builders on the same page with that. We just simply call it a catalog that we put out every year, and inside that catalog basically are the things that the homeowner can buy and the pricing by builder. And we just keep it real simple, but we keep it consistent. I think that's something I really want to share with everyone, is that, you know, the builders have a pretty good idea of what they want to do, but what they want to do isn't necessarily what the industry is buying, what the customers are buying, where the industry is headed. So by putting out a catalog every year showing the builders the latest and the greatest, and keeping things simple, keeping it down to just a few options, and letting the homeowner and the builder kind of be shepherded down the path, so to speak, to home automation, we're getting a lot of traction.
Mm-hmm. Here's an interesting question from Pete. He asks, what efforts are being made to convince developers or builders to pre-wire a home or versus doing wireless sensors? And is there an advantage, at least in your experience, to one or the other?
You know, that's a great question, and it's very interesting. Years ago, as we saw that wireless was going to become the norm, we started telling our builders that they needed to adopt more wireless technology and not wire things. And of course, the builder's attitude is, we're building the home, put the wire in. You know, I mean, why wouldn't you put wire? Wire's better than wireless. Well, the reality is, it has come to where wireless is better than wired in many cases. And one of the few cases that it's not better right now is when we're connecting our televisions. But when you talk about all these other devices, the security devices, the thermostats, the locks, the lights, all these other devices really operate better wirelessly. You know, we get a lot more information from them that we can use on our smart devices, our mobile devices, and it's just making a lot more sense. So builders are starting to get the idea that wireless is okay because they're seeing that it works, they're seeing that it's bulletproof. And I would say that the amount of wire that we run in the average home today is probably 1/3 of the amount of wire that we ran in a home just 3 years ago.
Very interesting. You know, and it's funny you give that time frame, because it feels like in the past 3 years, the industry itself, in terms of, you know, smart home and connected home technology, it has really, that's where it started there. It's about 3 years ago, and it's just been exponentially growing. You know, I think a lot of people on the call today are probably curious to know, what can I do today versus what's, you know, ether or, you know, conceptual or things like that. There's a lot of things. If you spend, you know, a few hours on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, you'll find a lot of cool things that are out there, but a lot of them are, hey, fund me because I want to do this someday, or I've got this great concept. What is actually available now? What is it you can install right now? And I know you've done a lot of this stuff. I want to take people quickly through some of the real devices and technologies they can use right now, today, and start installing inside their homes. First off, the IQ panel. We call this an all-in-one panel. It's obviously the brain of your smart home, like we mentioned a moment ago. But the reason we call it an all-in-one panel is because everything's built into it, so you don't have to worry about running a bunch of extra wires or a bunch of extra antennas or things like that. In addition to the 7-inch touchscreen and the built-in camera, there are actually multiple wireless radios built in. And the reason we did that is so that it would be able to use and leverage a variety of technologies. You know, if you look at some of those, you know, devices that are out there in Kickstarter or Indiegogo or, you know, wherever it might be, even some major manufacturers are making things, you'll notice that they generally they're looking at one technology. You know, they'll look at one technology, and it's almost like they're putting all their eggs in one basket. And I think Qolsys has had a slightly different approach to it. Our approach is to be as accepting of all technology as possible. And of course, everybody wants their own proprietary line of sensors or line of devices to take off and be, you know, become the new standard. And, you know, we all joke around about Sony's, you know, Blu-ray versus the HD DVD, you know, battle. And that was, you know, after, of course, the beta versus VHS that happened so many years ago. You know, it seems like everybody's looking to be that next proprietary platform that everybody launches on. And our concept is, we don't necessarily want to try and create our own little niche and have everyone come into our niche. Instead, we want to try and put everything we can into the panel so that it will accept anything that's made out there. So there's a Wi-Fi radio built into it, and that will allow you to connect Wi-Fi devices and do software updates. There's a cellular radio in there, and that allows you to, you know, not only do communication like to your mobile apps and things like that, but also get some of the, you know, the commands and things into the rest of the system. A security radio in there. It's an RF radio that allows it to communicate to things like smoke detectors and door sensors and motion sensors and doorbell sensors and things like that. A Z-Wave radio, and for those that are familiar with the Z-Wave protocol, it's a pretty cool radio frequency. But there's hundreds of devices out there on the market. There's Z-Wave devices, lights and locks and thermostats and outlets and lamp modules and energy modules and all sorts of things. And by building on that universal protocol, that we then can now accept almost any new device that's using that protocol now. And then the last one is the image sensor radio. It's actually not the last one. There's one other after this, but the image sensor radio is a device that's a motion sensor with a built-in still camera. And it's kind of a pseudo Zigbee type frequency, but anything, those image sensors built on that frequency could also be paired with the panel. There's also a Bluetooth radio in the panel, but we aren't currently using it. But as we learn about and start implementing devices that are using that, that's another thing that we could activate over software updates. So the whole goal here is that we try and be as compatible as possible. Now, one of the things we do with that Wi-Fi radio and the cellular radio is what we call dual path communication. For those of you that are in the dealer / security automation side of things, you'll know that one of the big challenges is, especially in some of more rural areas or areas with a lot of mountains or trees, getting signal can be a challenge. And if you're used to having to stand around trying to find the best spot in the house to put your signal, we built in something that makes it so you don't have to worry about that so much. This is called dual path connectivity, and it allows your Wi-Fi and cellular channels to actually work simultaneously. So no matter which has the better, faster signal, it can use that signal in real time. It's not waiting. There's not like a dialer delay where it says, hey, this signal's failed, turn this radio off and switch on the other radio. In real time, this is actually balancing both, and it sends those signals on to alarm.com, and then alarm.com then filters the signals out and then sends the appropriate one on to where it needs to go, whether that's to your device in the form of a notification or a text message, or it's to the central station letting them know that there's an alarm or a fire or whatever it is. The speeds are not only faster because it's using both Wi-Fi and cellular, but they're automatically redundant, backed up. So there's true intelligent redundancy there. Tom, I don't know if if you'd be willing to share some of the experiences some of your customers have had in getting one of these panels installed. Has it been, when they first see that panel, when they first use that panel, what's been some of their experiences?
Oh, well, we call the panel a dashboard in our company. In fact, it's kind of cute. We have this thing called bad words, and control panel in our company is a bad word. And the reason we do that is because it's all about the customer experience. So when the consumer walks, it comes just like on your car. It's the place where you can connect, where you can see everything that's going on within your home. So the customers seem to really like the fact that it's very interactive. And they do a lot from their mobile devices, but it's really nice to have something permanent inside of your home that you can walk up to and have perform all the same functions.
I'm glad to hear that. We've got quite a few questions here. Let's maybe attack some of these too. So Ken asks, what about power outages? Is there some kind of backup for surges or outages? Tom, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I was just actually trying to get my chat on. Okay, power surges and outages. Yeah, I'm not sure if the question is asking if the system will stay on or if the customer will be aware of it, but it actually does both. So the person using the system, we call them household users in our company, those people are notified on their mobile devices when there's a power failure or problem, but the system also has, battery backup so that it's going to continue to function. Does that answer the question?
I think so. Yeah, and for those that are curious for more stats, that's a lithium-ion tablet-class battery in there, and I believe it's rated up to 24 hours. So hopefully that answers it. He also asks about the security of the systems themselves from hacking. We've actually done some very extensive security things. Basically, without getting too technical, in order for someone to hack this system, they would need to first hack the Qolsys cloud and or the alarm.com cloud. And we've made that extremely difficult to accomplish. So I don't see any issues at all with security. There's really only one connection in or out of the panel, and that's through the alarm.com and Qolsys cloud. So you know, they couldn't get in there any other way. Let's see, here's another question. Do you still wire door sensors and speakers, Jay asked. Tom, I guess this is probably more for you. I'm guessing yes. The answer is yes, depending on the situation, right? But
yeah, well, you know, speakers, that's an interesting thing too, because what we're doing in our company is we're selling a lot of Sonos. And those of you that aren't aware of that know that they have an amplifier that connects to the internet. And of course, you still run speaker wires to it. But where we used to run the speaker wires into the family room or great room and into some kind of a cabinet, today we're finding that we're running the wires more into the master bedroom closet and putting the amplifiers mounted flat on the wall. So yeah, the wiring is changing. We're seeing a lot of that. As far as the security systems, they are, in our company, 100% wireless. We are not running wires at all. And in fact, we don't even sell or install motion detectors anymore. As of September 1st of this year, our motion detectors are motion cameras, or the image sensor. We made it a standard. And I got to tell you, it is a huge difference when people start receiving, you know, pictures and images on their mobile devices. They really become interactive with the system, and they love it.
Yeah, you know, I totally agree with that. In fact, before I worked for Qolsys, I actually worked for a top 10 SDM dealer, and we were one of the, you know, when the image sensor first launched, we really loved that product and embraced it wholeheartedly. And I believe that our attach rates on that were probably 73% of our installs included at least one image sensor. And the customers absolutely loved the ability to be able to see, you know, into their home whenever they wanted to. They'd, you know, go to their phone and say, I want to peek in right now, or I want to say peek in next motion. Funny story about it, I actually put one of those in my son's room when he was little. He's 10 years old now, but when he was small, he would have a habit of getting out of bed. And so I put an image sensor in there, and I said, peek in next motion, and caught him down on the floor. Here he is, this little 3 or 4-year-old kid playing with his cars on the floor in the middle of the night. And I was able to show him, hey, buddy, you can't get out of bed at night. Oh, I didn't do that, Dad. I'm like, oh, yeah, look at this. And I showed him the picture, and he's like, sorry, Dad, I'll stay in bed tomorrow. And he did. So, you know,
that's great.
And for me, that's another great, you know, testimony to the fact that these aren't just security devices anymore. Whether it's a door sensor or a motion sensor or an image sensor or whatever, there are so many different reasons that people would want to use these that don't have anything to do with someone breaking into your home. I use my system every single day, and it's not about someone breaking in. It's about just wanting to have information and data. And I think you touched on it as well, Tom. You know, the ability to know that information, to get that information from that wireless sensor, to get that data that, you know, prompts a text message or an alert of some sort or another device is really invaluable. And I think that's a lot of what people are looking for, is the data that comes from knowing what's going on in their home these days. So let me glance through the other questions here. Will there be integration in the future for Wi-Fi devices? That is a really great question. In fact, that actually talks to the next point I wanted to make, which is software updates. You know, one of the best things about the IQ panel is that we're continually improving it. We are releasing new software probably every few months. I would say we do probably 2 to 3 software updates every year, adding new devices, adding new features, things like that. In fact, you know, a year or so ago, we actually went through and changed the entire user interface to make it more consistent with the Alarm.com experience, because they had just rebranded all of their, with their mobile applications and such. So it was a really good experience for our end users to receive a software update that not only gave them a bunch of new features, but then unlocked a whole bunch of new devices that maybe they have been waiting to be able to use. And I think there's always some confusion as to how a system like this works. And I wanted to quickly go through, kind of the experience or the, a semi-technical side of how this works. So when the IQ panel receives data from one device, for example, let's say the door lock, Sarah unlocks the door lock with her code. There's a rule that's created that says disarm the system. If someone with a valid user code enters the code on the lock, that code also disarms the system. And another rule that says, hey, when the system's disarmed, turn the light on and turn the thermostat up. And all of these things working together. Remember how we were talking earlier about the Internet of Home being not just the ability to control something from an app, but the ability of all your devices to connect together. That's really some of the magic of this whole connected home experience, is these devices working together. Here's a couple examples of rules you might be able to set up. So for example, when you lock the front door, it could automatically turn off your lights. It could lock your back door. It could arm your security in stay mode. So you just know that when you're locked, if you lock the front door, it's automatically going to do those things. You don't have to go through and pull out your app and open up different things and do those things. You just lock the front door, and voila, my home is secure. It's all locked down. When the doorbell rings, maybe you want to turn on a porch light. You want to record a video clip. You want to have that video clip texted to your mobile device. Now I can get a video of who rung my doorbell. You know, so it really, all of these rules triggered by a single action can serve to automate your entire home. You know, and you set up the rules you want, and you set up the way that you want them to interact. And I would, you know, and Tom, you could probably answer this better than I can, but I'm willing to bet that the installation time on these devices is a lot smaller because they are easier to do. Pairing devices with the panel is very simple. You know, the installation is really a snap. But now the more, I don't want to say arduous process, but the part of the whole experience that takes longer is customizing the system's notifications and rules to fit the user's lifestyle. Is that right, Tom?
Yeah, and actually I want to talk about that for a moment, because I think this is an area that our whole industry is starting to shift into. You know, the industry has been built upon the installer, the technician out in the field, and that individual deciding how these systems would work and working with the customer to make sure that they were customized to how the customer wanted them. But what we're finding now that we're, you know, starting to do thousands and thousands of these systems at a time, that we can no longer have every technician telling every customer, you know, their idea of how it should work. And more importantly, the complexity is getting there, that there are so many different things that you can do that we needed to start coming up with standards. So what we do within our company is that we say that, you know, when you push a doorbell, these things happen, or when you unlock a lock. You talk about the thermostat going up, we talk about it going down because we're in Florida and we always want to make it colder. So, you know, what we do is we pre-program all these things, and we tell the customer, hey, look, you know, we're the experts, and this is how your system's going to work, and then we explain it to them and walk them through it, and then we let them know that they can customize it after that. But what I'm trying to say, in essence, is that we're doing things opposite of how we used to do it. We used to go to the customer and say, would you like to do this? And they would go, well, I don't know. And then you go, would you like to do that? And they go, I don't know. We're doing it the other way around. We're telling them this is how it works, you know, and if you want to change it, we'll help you. Here's our phone number.
Yeah.
And things are going really well.
That's excellent. I think, you know, if we take a leaf out of, you know, what Apple and Google are doing, they don't go to you and say, what would you like next on your smartphone? They build a phone and they put it all in there and they say, this is what you want. Whether you realize it or not, this is what you want, and they do that for us. And I think we're also inundated with the experiences we have with our smartphones, that we actually find ourselves more and more wanting that experience in every aspect of our life. So being able to say, hey, just out of the box, this is the things I want to do, and everyone should want to do this, and it should automatically be set up. In fact, Caitlyn, I think you were telling me that Alarm.com is implementing a new wizard that allows the end user, when they first log in, to actually configure a lot of this stuff themselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea is, you know, when a new homeowner moves into the home, they already have all of those rules and automation set up that Tom talked about, really to kind of, you know, help them choreograph their life in a way that it hasn't been in the past for convenience. But taking it a step further, when they log in, also having the ability to set up additional rules to customize the system specifically for their needs as well. So extremely user-friendly. And, you know, we're finding that usability is a really important aspect when it comes to this, you know, Internet of Things platform. Not only having the devices installed, but also having it so that the customer can actually use it once it is installed, and it's valuable to them.
When I want to give everyone on the call some examples of some real things that actually, you know, I've done in my own home. You know, one example is the geofence. You know, I absolutely love the geofence. I've got a geofence, for those who don't know, is basically a digital fence you create online, and it says, this distance from this point of my home, when I enter that geofence or leave that geofence, I can now initiate certain actions. In my house, I've got it set. I've got a geofence around my house that's a 1 mile radius, and when I leave that geofence, it knows that my phone is gone and takes certain actions. If my door was unlocked, it sends me a text message saying, hey, you forgot to lock the door. If the garage door was left open, it sends me a text message that says, hey, you forgot to close the garage. You know, same thing for the back door, same thing for leaving lights on. It also knows that I've left, and because I've left, I don't even have to tell it, turn the thermostat down. It says, hey, he's gone, turn the thermostat down. And so I know that every time I drive away from my house, I'm saving energy because that air conditioner or that heater is not blowing on full blast because it knows I'm not there. And the best part is, when I come back into the geofence, I've got other rules that say, hey, when I get into that geofence, I'm not turning that thermostat back up, you know, so that by the time I arrive home, now it's back up to the temperature I want, and I wasn't using energy the whole time I'm gone. You know, that's one example of the energy saving stuff. But, you know, notifications themselves even are super valuable. Just knowing that your door is unlocked or that your garage door is open, I think is critical. I mean, think about all the stuff you keep in a garage. You don't want that door open. And you certainly don't want that sinking feeling when you drive back up to the house and you're like, oh my gosh, did we leave that open the whole time? Please tell me the TV is still there. Please tell me no one stole the dog. You know, there's a variety of notifications you can set up for the system, and this is just a small sample of them. You know, garage door left open, power failure, system wasn't armed by a certain time, the back door reported an alarm, system was disarmed by someone at a certain time. You know, a medicine cabinet was open, the system wasn't armed when you left your home, you know, someone successfully logged into their website or their app. You know, just knowing what's going on in your home at any given time is really, really valuable and helps manage your life. I've got notifications set up. Yeah, please.
Hey, it's Tom. I just want to jump on a second. You know,
yeah.
One of the things I want to throw out there as a thought, you know, I know that I've been a victim of this in my own company. We're constantly talking about these different rules like you are, like the garage door is left open and so forth and so on. And the reality is when you offer these things to the consumer, you know, they aren't that excited. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool. But when you actually make it standard, if you actually put the garage door into every system so that they get a text when it's left open for more than 10 minutes or an hour or whatever you set it for, you would just be amazed at how people all of a sudden start going, wow, I can't live without that. So I just want to make a comment that these notifications are very powerful, but builders and installers alike need to just start making them standard, and then the industry is just going to take off so much faster.
I totally agree with that. I think, you know, the day of only doing a small basic system is gone. You ask your customers what do they want, and they may or may not know because they may or may not know what is even offered. And to Tom's point earlier, if you say these are all the standard things, I'm going to put a sensor on every door so you know when things are open. I'm going to put a sensor on your garage door so that you know when it's open. And I'm going to set up these rules and notifications that say, hey, if it's left open, send me a text message. I'm going to go through and I'm going to create a user for you and a separate one for your wife. And what's the name of your kid? And what's the name of your grandma? And what's the name of your neighbor? You know, and let's create user codes for each of them and set up a notification that says when they use that system that you get a text message. Now you know when grandma came over. Now you know when your neighbor stopped over to borrow a tool or to return that tool. You know, and if you've got additional things like cameras built in, now you can see when they did that. And you could set up a rule that says, hey, when the system's disarmed by Jake at, you know, any time, you know, go ahead and let him in, but then start the camera and record it and send that video clip to my phone. And now when Jake comes over, you've got a video clip of Jake walking through your house and whatever he's doing. And you know. It's just that extra knowledge. But of course, to have something like that, you have to have a lot of devices in there. And like Tom said, you got to have a bunch of devices that you hold standard, but then you also have to have devices that you're showing to your customer and saying, these are some of the other things that the system can do if you choose to invest in them. And that's, I think, when you were talking about shepherding them through the process, Tom, that's part of what you do in that, right, is where you sit down with your customers and say, what are the things you want to do? What are the things you want to be able to accomplish in terms of the things that might not come standard with the system, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of, you know, make that a little bit clearer, we also have learned that, just like your slide shows, that there are many, many, many devices available. And you could spend, 10 minutes talking about each individual device, and at the end, your customer can be more confused than when you started. So what we've done is we've kind of put things together in packages or bundles. We like to call them bundles. And keep it real simple. Keep it down to a very small number of bundles and put some of these things together and say, okay, here you go. For this amount of money, you get this bundle, and this is what it's going to do and how it works. And we found that works really well.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. I don't want to waste our time on individual devices, but just showing some examples of things you can do. Door sensors on anything that opens or closes. Put it on a safe, put it on a mailbox, put it on the fridge, doors, windows, cabinets. I've got one of these on my medicine cabinets, one on the cabinet down below the sink where the chemicals are stored, one on the safe, things like that, just letting me know when those devices are opened or closed. The thermostat, we kind of alluded to it, just the ability to know when, the whole house, using the intelligence from the whole house to be able to know when you're home and when you're not, and be able to save you more energy. Caitlyn was telling us earlier as we were preparing for this that, some people are saving up to $180 a year on their energy bill, by using a smart thermostat like this. So doorbell sensors that, integrate directly into your doorbell chime unit in the home and can activate lights and cameras. Light bulbs that replace your regular standard light bulb and not only last forever, 22 years of life using only 9 watts of energy, but are dimmable and smart and could be, when a doorbell's pressed, it turns on that porch light, or when you leave the house, it automatically turns off all your lights, in a really easy way to integrate smart lighting. This Hardwire 16 device is a device, for those people that want to still do those pre-wired homes and make those sensors smart. You can use this device to actually pair with the IQ panel and make all those hardwired zones compatible. So there really is a lot with this system that allows you to build a really, really smart home. And as we mentioned, there's, it's a consistent experience. Caitlyn, we don't have a lot of time. I want to get on to the how to partner with builders and dealers, but go over real quick a couple things about the Alarm.com platform that you think are relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jeremy, you already covered a lot of it, so thank you for that. But I think that the main sticking point here for both installers and builders alike is kind of the power behind this platform. So just as you mentioned, the panel is integrating with as many devices as possible and new devices every day. And there's a lot of noise being made in the space right now from these single-point solutions, but at the end of the day, what's powerful about the platform is that all the devices can be controlled from a single app or a single user interface so that the end user doesn't have to download 10 different apps to access the multiple devices around their house. And because Qolsys and Alarm.com have that single app, we are able to create those rules that we've talked about throughout the webinar today to help choreograph that person's life, not only for safety, but also for convenience and control over things like their energy bill. So I think that would be kind of the one takeaway that I would share. Now, everything, as I mentioned, is part of one platform, and that includes not only the interactive security component, but also the energy management component, as we've been talking about with the smart thermostat. In addition to visual verification. So not only with that image sensor, which is a great device to kind of provide visual verification when a motion happens, but also through video monitoring.
Yep. And there's a lot of mobile interactive features. You can add in so many different pieces to this. It really becomes some really, exciting prospect for your customer. And for those that want to review these slides as well, again, we're recording this webinar, so you'll be able to review this and watch this again later. And we, of course, encourage you to reach out to us and ask more questions as they come along. I want to talk for a minute. I want to go through the experience in terms of actually marketing to these customers. So one question that came up a couple different times actually in our question thing is, how do you find new builders to work with, Tom? So when you're actually out there looking, how would you actually interact with and find someone new to start a new project with?
Yeah, that's a great question. What we do when we're actually looking to add builders that we're not being referred to and we're trying to find out who's out there is we go and check the permits, and we go to the different cities and counties and find out who's pulling permits to build houses. All the information's there, and you know, that's how you find out who they are. Once you find out who they are, of course, then you know, you got to go start knocking on their doors and telling them you want to talk to them. But I will say that home automation is a great a door opener. You know, the builders are looking for this, as Caitlyn spoke about earlier. The builders are hungry for information about what they should be doing, and they're actually, you know, so busy that they're not taking the time to maybe seek out a home automation company. But when one comes knocking on their door, if they don't have one, they give them the time to listen. And even with us, with our builder partners we've worked with forever, you know, we're constantly being told that, you know, they don't have time for, you know, they have lunch with us, but they'll talk to other dealers because they want to know what's going on out there. They want to know what everyone's doing. It's certainly a big buzz. So getting the appointment's not the problem. Finding out who they are, you find it out through the permitting.
And you're pretty picky about the builders you work with, right? I mean, you were saying that the builders you work with and the ones you choose to work with, there have been times when you've decided not to work with them. You know, this is a couple points here, but what do you really look for when once you've found that permit and you have that lunch with them? You know, how do you decide whether or not you want to start doing business with this company versus saying, hey, you know what, you know, good luck on everything you do, and I hope you find someone that we're not probably in that company.
Right. Right. Well, our company is broken down into custom and then the production semi-custom. So there's two different sides of the company. You know, in the custom home business, it doesn't matter if you build a couple homes a year. You know, there's a lot of money involved. But when you're talking about systems like we're talking about, you really need to get builders that can sell the most systems for you. So you're looking for, you know, builders that are building a lot of homes, builders that are reputable, that can pay their bills and keep everything straight. Because, you know, some of the things that people don't realize after you get going in this business is that, you know, you may get a purchase order from a builder and you may send them an invoice, but just the accounting can become extremely tedious when there's things changing in the field, or there's work being performed in a hurry because the superintendent just needs it to get done. You know, the fact that the builder can keep their end straight and keep the paperwork right so you get paid becomes really important. So, you know, sometimes there's builders that are just a mess. They can't schedule their jobs correctly. They can't keep track of what they owe you. They're constantly arguing about things, and you know, the industry's growing really fast, and we just don't have time for that. And I guess that's what you and I were talking about on a side note the other day, is that, you know, we are fussy about who we do business with, just like they should be fussy about who they do business with.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and for our builders, you know, you based on your experience, you've got some advice for them as well. You know, when you're looking for automation partners and you've met with a couple people, you know, there's certain things that they should be looking for from your company or another company like yours, right?
Yeah, I think the industry is changing right while we're having this webinar. The industry's changing dramatically. Let me tell you what I mean by that. You know, it used to be that a builder would buy a countertop, and the countertop would be installed, and that would be it. It would have a warranty for however many years. And I think the security alarm industry kind of did the same thing. We would put alarm systems in homes that were being built, and when it was done, we got paid, and then we moved on to the next one. It's not that way with these systems. Home automation means that you have to be offering high-touch customer service 24/7. You know, we've built a call center that's open 7 days a week. We're putting more and more people on every day just to help our customers with the customer experience. It's no longer, you know, install it and forget about it. So when I'm talking to builders about, you know, what they should be looking for in a home automation company, the first thing they should be looking for is whether or not that company has the ability to offer customer support 7 days a week. And do they have the owner answering the phone, or do they have a staff that is actually trained to deal with the technical aspects, you know, versus the sales aspects? It's, you know, there's two different things there.
One of the questions someone's asking in the audience is, you know, can the end user then add in stuff themselves down the road? You know, is this an ongoing relationship with the security automation dealer, or is this install it, and now the customer's on their own to do whatever it is they want to do
great.
by themselves.
Let me tell you how far we're taking this as a company. We've created the Device of the Month product. Now what we're doing with our customers is we're collecting the household members' email addresses and phone numbers, and then we're telling them once a month you're going to be receiving via email the Device of the Month, and the Device of the Month is chosen by our company because we are willing to bet our reputation that this product is going to be around for some time into the future, and that it's stable and it's bulletproof. And we're taking a different product every month, and not just products that we're already installing, but new products, and we're adding them to our offering. And that way our customers know that it's been tested by us, it's proven, and that it's going to be around. I mean, all you have to do is look at what's happened with Wink and Home Depot lately, and you can see how even really big companies can struggle in this space. So Vitex as a company is being very careful to make sure that we're only promoting products that we know have longevity and that they're the right horse to ride. We chose Sonos and we chose Qolsys, and I got to be honest with you, both Qolsys and Sonos are a home run for our company, and we're finding new products all the time.
That's excellent. That's excellent. I appreciate that. Well, there's certainly a lot more questions to ask, and I think if you don't mind, Tom, you and I can stay on the webinar after we finished our presentation today. Caitlyn, maybe have to stay on as well, and we'll address those. We planned on it being about an hour, so I'd like to go ahead and end it at this moment. Before we do that, I would like to do a couple drawings for some prizes. We're going to give away 2 of our security kits. This security kit includes an IQ panel, a motion sensor, 4 door window mini sensors, and the doorbell sensor, and as well as the IQ tilt sensor, which is for the overhead garage door. Now we're going to give this away to a random person in the audience. Tom, why don't you give me a number between 1 and 500?
How about 227?
227. Okay. Looks like our winner is 227 going on the list. Jonathan Goldenhirsch. Jonathan, congratulations. We've got your information already. We'll reach out to you after the webinar, but the address you used to register that is where we'll send that probably. So let's do one more. Caitlyn, why don't you give me a number between 1 and 500?
Let's go for 53.
53. 53. Looks like that is Dan Bubniak. Dan Bubniak. I hope I pronounced that right. Dan, congratulations. So a lot of your questions, are going to be, if they haven't already been answered, over the text. But I'd like to go through a couple of those, here just with us. And again, for those that have something else going on, I know we committed to this being an hour. If you need to drop, you're certainly welcome to do so. If you'd like to stay on and find out some of the answers to these questions that are relevant in the market or that are relevant to our conversation today, we'd be happy to do that. We'll stay on for a few minutes here. Let's see. Are there any monthly fees associated with buying a system from Qolsys? Good question, James. That is, you purchase the equipment itself through what we call a distributor. And if you go on our website, Qolsys.com, you'll see a tab that says dealers, and you'll be able to actually look and see where all the distributors are in your area. And you can type in your address, and it shows you which ones are closest to you. You'd purchase that kit from Qolsys, and from the distributor, and then once you purchase that kit, that's your kit. Now, obviously, there's no recurring monthly charges from Qolsys, but you would need to purchase an Alarm.com account to associate with that panel, and that monthly service fee would be worked out between you and Alarm.com and their representatives in your area. Caitlyn, I know one of the things that people are asking for is how do they get in touch with an Alarm.com representative? We kind of skipped past that slide a moment ago about the marketing, and there's a lot of marketing, materials out there. If someone wanted to get in touch with an Alarm.com representative to, take advantage of some of these, materials and things like that, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to alarm.com/builder, then we have more information on our builder program, and there's a short kind of contact me form for both builders and dealers alike, and that's how you can get in touch with us. Someone will follow up with you within 24 hours of submitting that form.
And you said that's alarm.com/builders?
Correct.
Plural?
It's just a builder with no S on the end there.
Okay, got it. I'm going to put that, I do a send to all, so you can have that in your thing. You could just click on that link if you wanted to. Here's another question, Tom. When you're presenting information to a customer in, say, a model home type scenario, how are you presenting this information? You mentioned your catalog. What else might be done? Is there an experience or a kind of set demo that the customer's taken through when they come and they look at that house? How does that end user learn about the services that are being offered in that community?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Years ago, we built design centers and we built showrooms and all these kinds of things. Today, we don't do any of that. In fact, even our website is not how we sell to builders and builders' customers. It's really done with printed material. It's done with our catalog, and then of course the builders, if they have a model, we put products in the model, and then if the customer wants to see how they work, they can go to the model. But I will say this: we work for a lot of national home builders, and I would say that most of the national home builders give us about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, which is rare, during the design appointment to actually make our presentation. And that's when the customer actually buys all these things. And to be honest with you, there's no demonstration. There's no going to a model home. They go through the catalog and they pick what they want and they buy it within 30 to 45 minutes.
Excellent. That's impressive.
Yep.
Yeah. One person just mentioned, and this isn't a question but it's a comment, just installed a smart light bulb and paired it with the IQ panel. It took 30 seconds. This is kind of a, testament to what we were talking about earlier. Quickly installing devices, but then spending time, configuring your notifications and things. So that's great. I think most of the other questions are being addressed by Whitney, and if you've got a question that hasn't been answered, you can certainly stay on, and we'll type those questions. We'll get those answers to your questions all in there. But Tom, I want to say again, both to you and Caitlyn, thank you so much for your experience today, for your comments, for the things you brought up. I really feel like we had a lot of great information shared today, and I hope it spawned some creativity from those of you that are on the call today. Hope it inspires you to get out there and start pairing yourselves up with with a builder or a dealer, as the case may be, and find a way to provide this technology to the customers, because it's coming. And in many ways, it's already here, and customers are expecting it. I think, Tom, you and I were talking earlier about, it's no longer an option for people to have a smarter connected home. iPads have been out for years. The iPhone's the same way. They're expecting it, right? I mean, this is technology.
Absolutely.
That, everybody wants. So great opportunities out there for those who are willing to take advantage of it and do that. So I hope you guys will all watch the webinar again. We're going to make that recording available on our YouTube page later on today, and then we'll send out a link to it when we send out that thank you email tomorrow. And then share it with your friends. If there are other people, colleagues, coworkers, etc., who are in your industry or just interested, feel free to share that along with them and let them watch it. And please feel free to reach out to us if you have further questions or want more information. Tom, again, thank you so much for being on the call today.
Well, thank you, Jeremy.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, Caitlyn, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing the information you shared today, and we really appreciate you being on as well.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Guys, thank you again. Again, if you're going to stick around for a few minutes and get your questions answered, please do that. We're going to go ahead and go offline here verbally, but we appreciate everyone's time and hope to talk to you soon.